Hello, this is a sideshow. I'm Theodore Parker, and today is Monday, September 22, 2025. The weather in this area, Lexington, Kentucky, east coast of the United States, is currently 67 degrees, partly cloudy. The sun has been up for about an hour, almost 8:30 now, 8:22 a.m. Thunderstorms in the forecast today. Highs in the upper 70s and lows in the mid 60s. Rain possible after 10 a.m. According to the prediction, less than a quarter of an inch. Gabriel will strengthen past east of Bermuda. Ragweed pollen decreasing tomorrow. That little cough that some of you may be experiencing, that's related to pollen, ragweed in particular. Temperatures a little lower than yesterday in this area, down by 10 degrees. Currently, the AQI is moderate at 52. The humidity is 90%. The UV index is low. And the wind, 5 miles per hour. Conditions now are poor for running, poor for cycling, and poor for gardening. Sunrise today was at 7:26 a.m. Sunset will be at 7:34 p.m. And if you're interested, the Weather Channel has a segment. These are usually videos. Fall Equinox Explained, 5 Things to Know. Yes, according to the calendar, today is the first day of fall. We begin the fall season, September 22, 2025. Okay, I've been away from the sideshow for a little bit. I think the last time I aired here was on the 10th. I had things to do, appointments. One of those things was new glasses, new prescription. So hopefully that will help. When I last aired the show, afterwards, there was a political assassination of Charlie Kirk. That was on a Wednesday. Immediately was declared to be a political assassination, and events rolled out from there. Finding out the shooter, taking him into custody, comments in the media. I had not heard the name Charlie Kirk prior to this, so I didn't know anything about him or his politics or visiting university campuses speaking to young people. What I was able to put together was that President Trump and Charlie Kirk are the same political party, Republicans. So that might kind of, at least in a general way, inform you about his politics. Since then, the wife has made a comment about it, and that was in a video. And rather than, the whole video is like 29 minutes, almost 30 minutes long, and to avoid any of the TV stations having to speak to me about it, I will just share some of the video with you. Let's see if I can get the button.
I first want to thank the local, state, and federal law enforcement who worked tirelessly to capture my husband's assassin so that he can be brought to justice. I want to thank the first responders who struggled heroically to save Charles's life, and the police who acted bravely to make sure that there were no other victims on that terrible afternoon. I want to thank the officers who have protected our Turning Point USA family these past 2 days. I want to thank my husband's dear friend, Vice President Vance, and his phenomenal wife, Usha, for their love and support. You guys honored my husband so well bringing him home. I want to thank President Trump and his incredible family for the same. Mr. President, my husband loved you. And he knew that you loved him too. He always challenged people around.
So like I said, that's just a clip from the complete video. That one was about 1:29, a minute and a half. There's another one where she speaks at the funeral. That's about 30 minutes. So that kind of set the tone for things. And then President Obama, 4 days later, also gave comments on a show that he was involved in. I have to find it now, just a minute. And he spoke to how horrific, this thing was that had happened to Charlie Kirk. So this part I will have for you in a few seconds. Take it from the beginning. Bring the volume up now.
When it happens to some,
Okay.
Well, speaking of the events of the world, you are in Pennsylvania, as you know, earlier this year, the governor's mansion, the subject of an arson attack, the tragedy in Minnesota back in June, the horrific murder in Utah of a conservative activist. Are we at an inflection point in our country? Where are we today?
well, we are certainly at an inflection point, not just around political violence, but there are a host of larger trends that we have to be concerned about. I think it is important for us at the outset to acknowledge that political violence is not new. It has happened at certain periods in our history. But it is something that it is anathema to what it means to be a democratic country. And regardless of where you are on the political spectrum, what happened to Charlie Kirk was horrific and a tragedy. What happened, as you mentioned, to the state legislators in Minnesota, that is horrific. It is a tragedy. And there are no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The central premise of our democratic system is that we have to be able to disagree and have sometimes really contentious debates without resort to violence. And when it happens to some, but even if you think they're quote unquote on the other side of the argument, that's a threat to all of us. And we have to be clear and forthright in condemning it.
So this video is about, is almost 13 minutes long. I gave you 2.5 minutes of it. That's to avoid stepping on anybody's toes as far as property rights are concerned. But there you have heard from the widow, Erica Kirk, and from former President Obama on the matter of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. So this is a couple of days and 4 days after the event on a Wednesday. Sunday, for my part, I'm up, the TV's on, and it just so happens that it's on this program, Queen Sugar, taken from a book written by Miss Dubray, and Oprah Winfrey also has credits in the production. So it just so happens that the theme of the program that Sunday morning was the Minnesota killing of the brother who was accused of trying to pass a $20 bill, fake one. So the program opens up, and the family is made up of 3 grown children, 1 boy, 2 girls. An aunt, parents of the children have passed away. They have property in Louisiana. One daughter is a lawyer, the other daughter is a writer. The son has been working with the father before he passed to learn about the property and how it should be managed. He's married and has a young son. The daughter that's a lawyer is divorced, and she has a son ready for college. So the writer is sitting at the laptop, and the news is on the radio. She is in a relationship with a white man in Louisiana. He's watching the TV. She gets up, goes in the front room where he's at, and asks him, you're watching this, but do you feel any shame or embarrassment that the people that did that to George Floyd are white? So he says, well, I don't have any, turns the TV off. I don't have any personal knowledge of them or what's, the situation is. I don't agree or condone this, from what I know of it, And so she said, well, when Black people commit crimes in a general sense, I am embarrassed. So the next scene flips to the aunt, who is general caregiver for the family, the go-to person. And she's talking to her father. And she asked him, have you seen the news? And he said, yes. And she said, well, she's a business owner. She owns a diner, a restaurant combo. I can think of 10 things that I would have done rather than call a cop. See, so the father says, yeah, first of all, give him the $20 back. And then she said, then I would have thought about his circumstances as to whether or not he was desperate or how much need he was in to try to do something like that. So she steps away from the kitchen, and she has a fiancé boyfriend. He's in the front room watching the TV too, and he's like this. She looks at him, walks back in the kitchen. And from there, the story unrolls. So the woman that is the writer in the family, she says out loud all the names of the Black men that have been killed through police over-exercising their authority, down to George Floyd. So by this time, I'm into it. I'm listening, I'm catching every word. As a matter of fact, I done sat down to see how this is going to play out. And the college son, he gets the news over his phone. And he reads it and just takes the phone and throws it across the room. And his mother hears that. She comes out of his room, comes down the hall, and they meet and hug and so forth and so on. So, but he was actually terrified of the idea of what happened to George Floyd. So the brother is talking to his young son, him and his wife, and they're trying to explain to their son what it means to be a Black man in America. And he's telling him that when you see the police, what to do and so forth, if they ever stop you, call us first. Call me first or call your mother first. Call us first. So the little boy, he's like, well, Dad, I'm not going to be a criminal. And he said, I know that. I'm not going to be breaking the law. I know that. But you still need to know these things. And so that's how my Sunday morning went after the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I was just thinking that it wasn't too long ago that the writers in Hollywood were on strike. And I have to give kudos to people who, compose these scripts, gives you the scenarios, the timing of it, and all the things that goes into a program to be aired on TV. So my condolences to the widow of Charlie Kirk and his two small children. And I know they're already calling for the death penalty for the perpetrator of the crime, the shooter, the assassination person. So here we are today, Monday, September 22, 2025. In the news today, the top stories. Here in Lexington, victim taken to hospital after being stabbed. That's how the news led off. It's football over the weekend. If your team played and won, good for you. It is a either 2-1, a 2-0, or 1-1, or how they stand after the weekend's games. The story for number 2 is Will Levi's, former Kentucky quarterback, ex-Gia Duddy, marks presence at Tennessee versus Indiana as former Kentucky starter recovers from shoulder surgery. Now playing for the Tennessee Titans. Letitia James, at center of political firestorm as acting U.S. attorney, resigns amid pressure to prosecute her. So the gist of this situation is that Letitia James has allegations against her about mortgage fraud, and this particular U.S. attorney is refusing to file the charges or to move forward with the allegations. Jessica Alba nails date night look with 32-year-old boyfriend, while her ex-husband is spotted holding hands with 20-year-old as fans react. Carpooling from school. Our brand crisis. Trump staffer caught on hot mic during Starmer meeting as he cites Sandra Bullock. So this is a line from a movie, and the person visiting asked the staffer, well, how are things going? How are you? Things are greeting. And so they said, oh, that's good. As they say, our brand crisis. Kate references Diana during Trump dinner after reports that President saw the late princess as the ultimate trophy wife. As you know, President Trump is paying a second visit to the UK. That was over the weekend, and that was one of the comments that he made while visiting. Trump is already wielding his golden share authority at U.S. Steel, overriding the company's plans for an Illinois plant, report says. Inside the Saturday Night Live bloodbath, creator guts entire cast in brutal show shakeup to desperately save iconic late night program. As you know, when comments were made about one late night show, it kind of created a domino effect. And from there, by 2026, I think there will be no more late night programs. But Saturday Night Live has been around, I think they just did the anniversary, I think 50 years, if I'm not overstating it. So that's where we are with that. Philadelphia Eagles fans are praising actor Bradley Cooper after zoomed-in cameras caught a glimpse of his phone screen during date with model Gigi Hadid. I think there's a 20-year difference there. This next one, Charlie, behind closed doors, Representative Mike Sherrill says Charlie Kirk wanted to roll back rights of women and Black people after voting for House tribute. So there has been a motion put forward and successfully passed to give a House tribute to Charlie Kirk. This is the first time that I'm hearing, well, I really haven't taken the time to look too, but first time that I'm seeing Charlie Kirk's politics as it was presented to the public and to people that he was talking to. So the House adopted a resolution to honor Kirk's life and legacy Friday, just over a week after he was shot and killed during a college campus speaking event in Utah. If memory fails you, Utah is predominantly Mormon religiously. The measure got bipartisan support in a 3-10-58 vote, with both Democrats and Republicans condemning political violence after Kirk's assassination. The vote divided Democrats, however, with 95 lawmakers, including Sherrill, voting to adopt the resolution, 58 voting against it, and 22 not voting at all. I take my oath to the Constitution seriously. I believe in free speech and that the First Amendment wouldn't be necessary if it were only meant to cover language we agree with, Sherrill said in a statement. It is meant to protect people like Charlie Kirk who present vile dissenting views, but it is also meant to protect teachers, doctors, and TV comedians who may express views the president doesn't like. Charlie Kirk was advocating for a Christian nationalist government and to roll back the rights of women and Black people. This flies in the face of every value I hold dear and that I fight for, she added. But the Constitution protects free speech, even for those I vehemently oppose. Now on to the top stories for today. Behind closed doors, our top CEOs say Trump is bad for business and it's time to make America into America again. Just when U.S. Steel thought the ink had dried on its new future with Japan's Nippon Steel, the company ran into a political reality check. President Donald Trump's administration and its new Golden Share Authority. The Golden Share, essentially a veto power over certain corporate moves, was a condition for White House approval of Nippon Steel's $14.1 billion acquisition of U.S. Steel in June. The president used his power to halt a planned plant shutdown in Granite City, Illinois, the Wall Street Journal first reported on Friday. 2 weeks ago, U.S. Steel notified the Granite City plant and its 800 workers that operations would cease in November. The company planned to pay the employees despite closing steel production. Charlie Kirk's widow, Erica, says she does not want that man's blood on my ledger when asked about fate of his killer. As I stated earlier, prosecution was moving for the death penalty, if memory serves me correctly. North Korean leader recalls good memories of Trump and urges U.S. to drop denuclearization demands. Well, that's kind of self-explanatory. Kim Jong is North Korea's leader, and those are his comments. Oklahoma tiger handler fatally mauled in accident. I don't know about you, but somehow that picture looks familiar. I think Ziegfeld. Excuse me. Russia shifts from talks to actually targeting NATO homeland amid fears of global war. There have been comments in the news and on the media about Russia flying planes into NATO airspace. So this comes from that. NATO has been on high alert since Russia invaded Ukraine more than 3.5 years ago, but a recent spike in the alliance's airspace violations has security experts increasingly concerned that warnings of war with Moscow are no longer theoretical, but inevitable. President Donald Trump on Thursday said the U.S. could end up in World War III over Russia's war in Ukraine and conceded that Russian President Vladimir Putin has let him down over his refusal to end his military campaign. And I myself have given this some thought, and this is speaking about Russian President Vladimir Putin. I met a lot of people, moving around like I have and just taking up care of my dailies and my business. And some of them were stubborn. Some of them were stubborn. But I have never met a person that was unreasonable. And to me, I kind of think that's where Putin fits into the category. So, Prince Harry and Meghan Markle make first joint public appearance since his reunion with King Charles III. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle stepped out together for a good cause, marking the couple's first joint appearance since the prince's reunion with King Charles III earlier this month. On Saturday, the Duke and Duchess of Sussex made a surprise appearance at the 1-805 Live benefit concert, which brings together legendary artists and passionate supporters to raise money for essential equipment and mental wellness programs for Santa Barbara County's first responders. Continuing with the top stories, confusion and chaos. Trump's $100,000 H-1B visa fee rocks Silicon Valley's hiring machine. Now, this is the first I've heard of it. So, minutes after President Donald Trump signed his H-1B visa executive order Friday evening, panic rippled through the cabin of an India-bound Emirates flight about to take off from San Francisco. As passengers' phones lit up with calls and emails about the order, dozens of H-1B visa holders started walking off the plane one by one. Each exit sent ground crew scrambling to dig through the hold for luggage. In the cabin, tempers frayed. People whispered anxiously. From her window seat, Zarna Joshi, a U.S. citizen and healthcare worker, watched as cart after cart of bags was hauled away from the aircraft. It was a nightmare, Joshi told Business Insider. We'd already been on board for 2 hours and there were no updates, just more people leaving. Trump's Friday order said companies would need to pay a $100,000 fee for employees on H-1B visas, a move that sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley and much of corporate America. For decades, the tech industry has leaned on H-1B visas to fill specialized roles for engineering and research. Just weeks earlier, the country's most powerful technology CEOs, Microsoft's Satya Nadella, Google's Sundar Pichai, Meta's Mark Zuckerberg, OpenAI's Sam Altman, and Apple's Tim Cook sat around a White House dinner table, repeatedly thanking and praising Trump while he lauded their U.S. investments. Any goodwill for that dinner didn't last long. Hours after the order, immigration and HR teams at Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Meta, Salesforce, JP Morgan, and Zoom blasted out urgent warnings. Don't leave the U.S. if you are on an H-1B, and get back within 24 hours if you're abroad. H-1B visa-holding employees were scrambling for flights and flooding legal teams with desperate questions. Lawyers scrapped their weekends to field panic calls, while thousands of workers vented online in group chats and social media. Chinese COVID whistleblower is sentenced to 4 more years in jail, group says. Zhang Zhan, 42, was sentenced on a charge of picking quarrels and provoking trouble in China, the same charge that led to her December 2020 imprisonment. So she now has 4 more years to serve. Another Republican senator blasts FCC chair's comments on Kimmel absolutely inappropriate. Excuse me. Senator Rand Paul became the latest GOP name to push back against the top federal regulator's remarks over comedian Jimmy Kimmel and the media. In an interview on NBC's Meet the Press with Kristen Welker on Sunday, the Kentucky Republican was asked about FCC Chairman Brendan Carr's comment that we can do this the easy way or the hard way when it comes to companies taking action against Kimmel. Absolutely inappropriate, Paul replied. Brendan Carr has got no business weighing in on this, but people have to also realize that despicable comments, you have the right to say them, but you don't have the right to employment. During his late night show, Kimmel criticized what he called the MAGA gang for desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. Nexstar Media Group, which owns 32 ABC affiliate stations and is pursuing a $6.2 billion merger with Tegna, requiring FCC approval, announced it would preempt the show for the foreseeable future. Sinclair Broadcasting, the nation's largest ABC affiliate group, also removed the show and demanded Kimmel apologize to Kirk's family. And the article continues. Disney owned ABC, said it was preempting Kimmel's show indefinitely, setting off another backlash among people angry that the media giant caved to the pressure. The article also brings to mind the settlement that was made between the broadcast station and Donald Trump for $16 million. And here we are presently in the weather. Gabrielle strengthens into hurricane, second of 2025 Atlantic season. And this is again referencing, coming from USA Today, referencing the weather. Stories in the news and your top stories for Monday, September 22, 2025. Since one of the articles mentioned people's right to say things based on the First Amendment, including comedians. Here's one for you. A vegetarian ate a bag of mushrooms, and the story continues. I'm Theodore Parker. This is a sideshow. That's it. Hashtag.